Kia ora, welcome to Central News for Tuesday, the 7th of October. I'm Hilary Entwistle. If you reduce, reuse or recycle, you could be eligible for a financial boost from Hamilton City Council. The Contestable Waste Minimisation Fund has $50,000 a year from the government's National Waste Levy to fund projects promoting or achieving waste minimisation in the city. The Council's Waste Minimisation Advisor, Kerry Skur, sees the fund as a significant ongoing part of cutting the city's waste. From equine hoof health to saddle fitting to riding with confidence, every horse enthusiast will find something exciting to learn at Equidays 2014. Equidays seminars will cover a range of topics, from equine reproduction and lameness diagnosis to endophytes, horse-friendly fertiliser, the signs of colic and how to hang a gate. Specialist veterinarian Dr Lee Morris leads the Waikato-based Equibred New Zealand team in providing boutique specialist veterinary reproductive services to the equine industry. Morris will discuss two hot topics at Equidays 2014, the use of stem cell treatment for lameness and how to breed a champion. Two former Tauranga College students have taken the top sporting accolades at the prestigious 2014 Wallace Corporation University Blues Awards. Rower Zoe Stevenson was named Sportswoman of the Year and surf lifesaver Sam Shergold was named Sportsman of the Year at Friday's ceremony. The Blue is a prestigious award for excellence in sport or creative and performing arts, and recognises regional and national excellence through to world champions. This year, more than 60 Blues Awards were given out to the University of Waikato's top sporting and arts students. Waikato District Council and Hamilton City Council have received notices of a requirement from the New Zealand Transport Agency to alter the existing designations for the Hamilton section of the Waikato Expressway to enable the construction, operation and maintenance of the Ruakura interchange and connecting roads. The notice of requirements involve the widening of the existing designations to accommodate the Ruakura interchange ramps, connecting roundabouts and a stormwater wetland. The NORs are intended to enable a direct link between the proposed inland port, logistics and industrial areas of the Ruakura development to the Hamilton section of the expressway. Furthermore, they will enable a link to State Highway 26 via the existing and a new relocated Ruakura Road. Changes to the local road system are also proposed, including closing of part or of the existing Ruakura Road either side of the Hamilton section of the Waikato Expressway and constructing a new relocated Ruakura Road. Marine forecast for Wednesday now, West Coast, Raglan. In the morning, there is a northwest 25 knots and very rough seas. Your high tide is at 10:39 a.m. East Coast Bay plenty, northwest rising to 20 knots in the afternoon. A few showers later on. Your high tide is at 7:24 a.m. Just ahead, the Kaimai Range. How dangerous is it? Welcome to Central News on TV Central. A 12-kilometre stretch of the highway between State Highway 28 on the Waikato side and Soldiers Road on the Tauranga side will be part of the 2-year trial, which is the first of its kind in this country. 4 webcams and 22 electronic variable signs will be activated in adverse weather, with speed limits typically reduced to 60 km per hour on the steeper Waikato side of the summit and 80 km per hour on the Tauranga flank, depending on the weather. I spoke with the NZTA's safety guru to find out if the major freight route having differing speeds will create difficulty for heavier trucks.
I actually don't think that the altered speed limits would actually have much effect on trucks. I think that the trucks are typically governed by their power to weight ratio, the load that they are carrying over the kaimai, and also their braking ability downhill. And so I actually don't think that the lowered speed limits temporarily lowered speed limits would actually have much effect on trucks at all. In fact, I think what it will do, it will bring the light vehicles who aren't so affected by gradient and load, it'll bring their speed down closer to the truck. So I think it will calm that traffic condition speeds down a little.
There's going to be 22 electronic variable signs. Is there a bit of a worry that that amount of signage could create distraction?
Yeah, the 22 signs is a little bit misleading. A number of those signs are actually located up the side roads that the travelling public won't see, but that's to tell people who are coming off the side roads of a lowered speed limit on the main road they are turning onto. It won't appear to be that many signs. We will have gated signs, and what I mean by gated signs is there'll be signs on both sides of the road as you enter the lower speed limit area. And then after that, it will actually only be about one sign, roughly about every 1.5 kilometres apart. So I don't think it will seem like an overkill of signs.
So once you enter that gated space of road, there's a blanket speed?
No, it will potentially be 2 speeds. It will be, if you're travelling from Tauranga to Hamilton, when you enter that gated area, it could be 80 kilometres an hour on the Tauranga side of the summit, but as you go across the summit and down on the Waikato side on the windier bit, it could lower to 60 kilometres an hour.
Begs the question, why not change it permanently?
The reason not to change it permanently is that in dry conditions, the road safety problem is not so great up there. Our crashes, a large proportion of those associated with wet road conditions, not dry. It is a nationally important freight route. It is a nationally important strategic link between the Waikato and Bay of Plenty. So it's important to keep efficiency of that network up when the conditions are appropriate.
Will the speeds shown be suggested speeds, or are they a speed limit? Will they be enforceable?
They will be legal speeds. They will be, it will look like a speed limit roundel. It will have the red boundary border around the number, and that actually makes it a legal speed limit, and so it is enforceable. That's not the objective of this. The objective is to advise motorists that there are different speeds appropriate for different road conditions.
Are the police on board? I mean, potentially it could create more work for them trying to enforce these speeds, but in the long run, less work with less crashes, hopefully.
The police are definitely on board with us. The police support it. In fact, the police approached us about doing something like this a number of years ago. I think it's the opposite. At the moment, the police deploy a lot of their resources up to the Kaimai in adverse conditions, particularly during the winter, to an attempt to calm traffic speeds and calm road user behaviour. If this trial is successful and people moderate their driving behaviour in accordance with those altered speed limits, then I think long term it could reduce the demand on the police to have to be up there.
Are drivers driving to the conditions currently?
Most of them do, but there's a small proportion that don't. And the police records of crashes on the Kaimai suggest that about 40% of them are driving too fast for those conditions. That doesn't necessarily mean they're speeding, it just means they're driving too fast for the road conditions at the time. And so there is a proportion that potentially aren't slowing adequately enough for adverse weather conditions. However, in saying that, some of those conditions are very difficult to see and determine. You know, light rain can make a road very, very slippery, or just dampness on the surface. And those conditions that drivers possibly aren't aware that the road is as slippery as it is. And secondly, things like black ice. Drivers can't see that, and therefore, you know, it's not surprising that some of them don't alter their driving conditions accordingly.
How do you measure the success of the trial?
Long term, the success of the trial would be a reduction in crashes in adverse weather conditions, but that would be a long-term trend. It takes time to monitor that. So our short-term measure of success is looking at a reduction in the higher end speeds in when the signs are on, and so in adverse conditions. And another measure of successes would be drivers understanding, having a greater understanding of driving to different conditions.
And if successful, will there be other places that you'll look at doing a similar thing?
Yes, I think there's There's a number of areas throughout New Zealand that this could be used in. Another one that we are considering at the moment is the Rimataka Ranges north of Wellington. But I'm sure that there are several locations around New Zealand where this might be appropriate. There are some highways where that aren't quite so strategically important, and we could look at a permanent lowering speed limit if we had a similar sort of problem. However, I think on very strategic important highways, then this technology allows you to allow drivers to drive at higher speeds when the conditions are appropriate and lower speeds when they're not.
Coming up next, housing in the Western Bay looks more and more desirable. Welcome back to Central News. Apparently, Western Bay residents love the small town feel. Councillors, staff and the Mayor found out on a recent road trip. They toured the region aiming to get community feedback on what matters most to them. One of the key factors for people wanting to live in the region was local employment opportunities. I spoke with Mayor Ross Patterson to find out if there really is a lot of opportunity in the Western Bay for employment.
No, we're like most other regional areas. We are struggling. The big cities seem to be where the economic growth is at the moment, even though the rural rump of the country does provide most of the income. We were looking at being a facilitator in local employment, and we have our employment facilities, our units within there working with the community. We have our community development and our economic sections working out there with the community to help on the employment side. It's not easy. We are very seasonal with kiwi fruit as well. So in the off season though, we find that employment rates go up, but they drop once we get into the pick, pack and orchard scene.
What are these employment opportunities?
No strong growth industries. We have local industries. We have some specific export areas within the communities throughout the district. But no massive growth. It's mainly the pack house. In the east, aquaculture is being part of it, and we do find a little bit in the production log forestry industry and timber, that side of it, and just the general work within orchards and farms. Within the towns, a little bit of service industry, but the main growth, export-related growth or service industry is Tauranga.
There has been a bit of talk lately of almost an exodus of people moving from Auckland to the Western Bay, mainly for the lifestyle, but more importantly for affordability. Did you see some evidence of that out there?
Yes, we are seeing that, especially north of, in the northern area, in the Katikati area, the Waihi Beach area. We're finding a lot of people coming in from Auckland. They are in a fairly good cash position because of house prices in Auckland, and can move into an area like Katikati, which has a beautiful lifestyle and climate that they appreciate, close to the coast. Can buy themselves a house, settle in there and still have some money for investment as well. So that is one of the things we're seeing now coming out of Auckland. People are saying they've had enough of the big super city and the pressure and the transport and getting around, and they're looking for a bit more relaxed style of life, and we have that there.
And do you think the council should be encouraging that?
It will be, because demographics are showing that our ages within our population is increasing, and that we will have a higher than New Zealand average for those over 65s going forward. I think we're running at about 32% now, which is well above the New Zealand average. So we actually now need to start to focus on how we provide for those people, their lifestyle, their recreation, how we can provide for them in employment. They might want part employment. So there's a whole range of new factors coming that a council like us is going to have to look for.
There will be a new housing accord. Is that going to help affordability in the Western Bay?
We're working with central government on that and have signed a contract, and we have under the housing accord special housing areas. We are looking at a Mokoroa because it already has infrastructure in place as being possibly our first area. We also own some land there, so we are in a position where we can work with developers, give them a fast track system to get through the resource consents on building, and to give them capacity to be able to get efficiencies of scale, and by having a reasonable side subdivision. And when we look at affordable housing, it's not cheap. We're not talking cheap housing. We are talking maybe smaller sections, 1 or 2 bedroom houses, possibly 2-storey duplexes, just a different way of doing things. But we need a housing accord to be able to change our district plan to bring that in place at the start of that exercise.
When is this housing accord going to be signed off?
We've signed it off 2 weeks ago with the Minister. It is now operational, and now we are starting to talk to developers, and we will be going out to the community and those landowners that are in those areas that we're talking about, to talk to them, to bring them on board and let them understand just where council's heading and how we wish to help them go through subdivision and develop what they want to do.
There were 6 themes to the road trip. Can you explain some of these and how they kind of correspond with life in the Western Bay?
It really was touching on their lifestyles within their different areas. Some of it was the recreation side, some of it was youth, some of it was around land production, and some of it was the goodness, the fruit and the produce that we produce in our areas, and those roadside stalls that people find so exciting when they stop and see what's in there to buy. So that was some of the themes that we had on our portraits and what we took out. That's what we thought is the face of the Western Bay.
Some feedback was people would actually like to see more promotion of some places as tourist destinations. How will the council do that?
Well, those are what I called our economic providers before. We have a arrangement with Tourism Bay of Plenty. That's a sub-regional arrangement, and they work right across the North Island to bring people in and to look after that domestic travel side. But underneath that, though, we have areas within Katikati, Waihi Beach and Te Puke, where we have small economic groups that are working on the ground in those areas, liaising with Tourism Bay of Plenty to develop those tourist opportunities and that those areas of activity that those people are looking for, to bring them into the area.
To find out about the council's road trip, visit westernbay.gov.nz. Just ahead, weather and a voice for youth in the South Waikato. Welcome back. With the disestablishment of the Youth Council a couple of years ago, the South Waikato District Council knew that needed an outlet for young people to have their say on big decisions and to suggest ideas for youth. Amanda White talks to Amanda Harper about the newly established South Waikato Youth Leadership and Advisory Board and what they aim to do.
Amanda, what is the South Waikato Youth Leadership and Advisory Board?
It's a group of youth that have been put together to help advise the councillors of South Waikato District, any matters that might come to hand, projects and things happening within the district. So they're a group that can advise. Councillors are primarily 50 plus, so they need a group of youth that can put their views across.
And what age range?
12 to 24, so we cover the entire range. Yeah, we've got 12-year-olds right through to 23 as our eldest.
And how is this different to the Youth Council that was around a couple of years ago?
The Historical Youth Council, they were all nominated, so they were generally youth that had positions in schools, maybe a head girl and lots of other commitments. This time round they're self-referred, so we've only got youth that want to be involved themselves. We went out to different avenues, so they all want to be there. They weren't made to come along.
Okay, and what are the main issues that the board will focus on?
At the moment coming up, we've got annual plan and long-term plan, so it's a chance for the youth to focus on what they want to see happen over the next 10 years and go forward, so hopefully they will actually see some of their visions or dreams for the South Waikato come to fruition.
Yeah, and what are some of the ideas that are floating around at the moment?
There's a piece of land next to the youth park at the moment, so they'd like to possibly see something with that developed. They've identified our indoor pools might need a bit of a revamp, got lots of ideas there. The welcome signs coming into the district, and an art wall or some sort of youth art was a really big focus as well. So they were some of the main ideas that came out of our workshop.
So they are advising the council. How much influence do what they say actually does it have on decisions that are made?
It might have quite a lot. They're going to put some really good submissions together. They're starting early, so they've got lots of time to get it perfect as it goes forward. They've probably got quite a lot of waiting. Councillors are really interested in what the youth want. Obviously going forward they're going to be the ones running the town, so quite a lot of sway.
And you've been established since July this year. Yes, yep. Has there been any unexpected hurdles along the way?
Not so far, no, we're all going smoothly. We're just coming into our first event starting now, so the planning seems to be going well. Everyone's really enthusiastic. No hurdles so far.
Okay. And is there a leader of the board, or is it just sort of all?
So I'm the council representative at the moment. They're taking it in turns, so at each meeting we've got a different secretary, a different chair, so just giving everyone an equal opportunity to have a go being in charge.
And have they helped make any decisions yet, or is it still kind of in the process with, like you said, the annual
Not yet,
plan?
no. So what they have decided on is the name of our board. They wanted to add in the word leadership, T-shirts and the events that we want to run, so School of Zen events, a Waitangi Day concert, so there's events that they've decided on that they think there's a need for, but other than that we're still working through the annual plan, long-term plan at the moment.
Tomorrow night, Amanda chats with some of the members. Now for our weather, Hamilton, occasional drizzle turning to rain from the evening and a fresh northwesterly for your Wednesday. Your expected high is 18 and an overnight low of 9. The rest of the Waikato, you can expect cloudy with patchy drizzles, rain developing in the evening and a northwesterly. Paeroa, your expected high is 19 and an overnight low of 9. Matamata 17 and 8. Te Aomutu 18 and 9. And Tokoroa 16 and 9. Tauranga becoming cloudy and some drizzly patches as the day goes on. 19 is your expected high and your overnight low is 11. Other parts of the bay, cloud increasing and patchy drizzle developing in the afternoon. Scattered rain at night. The northwesterly is freshening as the day goes on. Te Puke, you can expect 17 as your high and an overnight low of 11. That is the program for today. If you would like to get in contact with us, you can via our Facebook page, centralnews.tv, or email us, news@tvcentral.co.nz. Tomorrow night, we speak with some members of the Youth Council Advisory Board and Waihi Gold. Until then, I'm Hilary Entwistle, and I hope you have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.